The semiconductors are pulling back and some high beta names are down 30 to 40%, while the SPY is only down a few percent off from its all-time highs. What is going on in the markets and what are we looking for coming to next week is exactly what we're going to discuss in today's video. We have plenty of things to go over. There's a bunch of big earnings reporting this week as well. Let's hop straight into the charts. Before we do that, let's take a look at my P&L calendar for this month so far, up $51,000, 80% trade win percentage, profit factor 10.6, day win percentage 88%, with an average win to loss ratio of 2.6. If we scroll down, last week in specific was a very slow week in the markets. I've been playing a lot more defense as of late just because we've been ranging on the higher time frames, a lot more consolidation as well. There's not really too many setups that look good with, of course, the markets pulling back. So last week was a much slower week in the markets, only took 3 day trades. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday was not able to find any trades on Monday or Friday that I liked a lot. So with that being said, the overall game plan, at least moving forward, is going to be the exact same thing, right? Be defensive, be open and playing both sides. And of course, there's a lot more range / consolidation. So of course, we're going to be a little bit more hands off in the markets until we see something a little bit more clear. With that being said, currently we are on the economic calendar. As you can see, really no red folder news events coming to next week. The only thing that we have is unemployment claims on Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. For the earnings calendar this week, for the week of July 20th, there's a couple notable names to keep an eye out for, mainly on Wednesday and Thursday. So you can see the first 2 days, really not too much to keep an eye out for on Monday or Tuesday. We have a couple airlines that are reporting on Tuesday after close, but of course the main thing that we're going to keep an eye out for is on Wednesday. First thing that we have is Tesla. Wednesday after close, we have Alphabet here as well. Plus we have ServiceNow, which is a nice software name. We have IBM, another name to keep an eye out for, TXN, right? A couple big names that are reporting this week. And of course, on Thursday after close, we have INTC Intel, a name to keep an eye out for, especially with, of course, the semiconductor weakness as of late. This is going to be one thing to keep an eye out for to kick off the earnings season. So with that being said, let's hop straight into the charts to show you guys exactly what we're looking for coming into this week. Number one, first things I want to talk about, as you can see, the Qs is dropping. The semiconductors is the one that is pulling back. Currently, we are down roughly 20% from its all-time highs. The Qs is down roughly 8% off our all-time highs, while the SPY is only down 2% off our all-time highs. So you can see the semiconductors as of recent have been a lot weaker, with the semis and the memory names, MU, SNDK, INTC down 30 to 40% off our all-time highs. A lot of big names are coming into big discount areas. A month ago, people are dying to buy MU over $1,000 a share. Now it's pulling back down into 800, and all of a sudden everyone is scared. So let's first talk about the major indices on the higher time frames. As for the SPY, this one is still very much intact. All we're doing is just consolidating at the highs. So nothing's changed on the SPY outlook. But of course, with the semis and the QQQ being a lot weaker, SPY is right now just consolidating in this general area. For the daily time frame, the key levels that we have marked out, we're still going to maintain a bullish bias here on the SPY above our 730. We do want to see this level hold in this case, which is that 740. You can see last week we stayed heavy, right? We were unable to break above that 750, and then we kind of rejected off the top of the range, and now we're coming back down into the middle of this range that we have here on the SPY. If you go into the lower time frames, nothing too much is happening here on the SPY. We can just draw this general area, level of resistance, level of support. Now let's see if any buyers want to step in off this 740 for a short-term move back towards the upside. Of course, if we do break underneath the 740, that means the Qs is going to break underneath a key technical level support, and you can definitely see room all the way down in towards 730 here on the higher time frames. If you go into the QQQ, right now, as you can see, on Friday, we ended up breaking towards the downside. So for the Qs, what we have marked out is this smaller range. And we have this bigger range. So we've been ranging for the past 20 sessions. On Friday, finally broke outside of this range, broke underneath the 710, and we're starting to show a little bit more weakness down in towards this 690. So if we look at this from a longer term perspective and we kind of zoom out here on the higher time frames, this is a very key level of support. 680 bounce, another bounce earlier, and we can see we have multiple touches around this general area. If the QQQ decides to break underneath this 680 and starts to stay a little bit more heavy, I don't have any level of support down in towards that 640. Not saying the market is going to gravitate down in towards this area, but this was a previous level of consolidation. Break above, consolidation. If we break underneath that 680, next level down in towards our down close candles, we have a couple daily gaps and all the way down in towards this 640. If we can defend this 680, we can see a potential bounce play off our support level for a move back up in towards the middle of the range and potentially back above. So Qs coming to next week is going to be in a very key inflection point. If you go into lower time frames, the exact levels that we can have marked out is just going to be this key level support. In this case, it's our 692. So we'll keep an eye out for this area for a potential bounce play here on the Qs. If we go on to the SMH key levels that we have, let's go on to the weekly time frame so far. You can see we are pulling back here and we're breaking underneath our 9 EMA on the weekly time frame. So as you can see, this one's pulling back within the past couple of weeks. We are still technically above the 21 on the weekly time frame, but we're definitely a lot weaker and the momentum has slowed down for sure on the daily chart. Key levels that we can have marked out in this case is our 520. This is the level that we bounced from. This was earlier in May. You can see we created a higher low. What I wanted to see hold on the SMH was this level right here, 580. You can see we broke underneath 580, came down, and now moving forward, if we do want to see any sort of pushback towards the upside, reclaim back above that 580 at a minimum for a push back up in towards 600 and 620 and back towards the upside. If the SMH stays heavy underneath these EMAs, right, and potentially builds a lower high, we can see a move right back down in towards that 520 and potentially below here on the SMH. But looking at this on the higher time frames, we are still technically intact. The momentum has definitely slowed down and the daily chart is definitely breaking underneath structure. So we do want to be a little bit more cautious moving forward. If we look at DRAM, this one has broken underneath our key technical level support. So this now, you can see a bunch of the memory names have had a significant pullback as of recent. Now we're actually going to come all the way back down in towards really 45, right? This is the area that we bounced from earlier in May, created a higher low, and now you can see broke underneath, so definitely a lot weaker on, of course, the semiconductors. So with that being said, let's go on to some of the key watches coming into this week, starting off with Tesla. Tesla recently broke underneath a key level support. Major levels was at 380. Overall market shopping stayed heavy. Now Tesla, we can see a potential move down in towards that 360 and below. AMD, this one is still holding up, but as you can see, we end up breaking on Friday. Finally broke outside this range that we have here as well. Buyers stepped in on Friday. We're still fairly bullish on AMD. AMD is one of the strongest tickers in the market. So what we're just going to have marked out is, of course, going to be that 500. Reclaim back above that 500, continuation back towards the upside, rejection off that 500, a push right back down in towards that 470s in play. If you look at NVDA, key levels that we have marked out is that 210. Currently, we are seeing a little bit of rejection off that level. You can see we're kind of forming this potential head and shoulders here on the higher time frames. Our right shoulder here is going to be that 212. So far, buyers are actually stepping in right off this key level of resistance, which happens to be that previous all-time high. So for longs, we already know we need it above that 210 hold for a flip back towards the upside. As for Apple, this is one of the strongest tickers in the markets. The only one that's making a brand new all-time highs here. Reclaim back above that previous all-time highs. Nice continuation towards the upside. We can expect Apple to continue higher coming to next week, but that's really the only ticker that we have. A little bit of rejections off this 370. We like to see it now build a higher low here on the daily, but best case scenario for longs back above that 370. Now with it showing a little bit more weakness, we like to see it build up higher lows here on the daily. As for Microsoft, key levels that we have marked out is going to be that 400. As you can see, multiple touches here. We could see a potential rejection here off that 400, push towards the downside. Longs are in play if we can get back above that 400 here on Microsoft for a push higher. Meta, this one came back down to fill its daily gap. If you look at this on the lower time frames, I would like to see buyers step in right off that previous retest level for a pushback towards the upside. Amazon, we had a nice breakout, but only to be rejected off key technical areas right off that 256, and now we're back towards the downside. Netflix, of course, had earnings a lot weaker, and then SpaceX, and of course with SpaceX with the lockup coming up as well, this one is showing a lot more weakness and dropping towards the downside. Let's take a look at some of the semiconductors here, starting off with MU. I do like these ones in a very key technical spot, right? 800, a very nice area where we can see a bounce play for a pushback towards the upside. So let's keep an eye out for MU potential bounce. This is our key level support. This is our daily gap here as well. A very solid area for MU. Another thing to keep in mind is a retracement here. This is a 50% retracement along with your 61.8. These are very strong buying areas for semiconductors. So MU, right, SNDK, you just draw your Fibonacci from your swing low all the way to your swing high. This 50% to its 61.8 is a very good retracement for a continuation back towards the upside. INTC pulling back here as well. We do have to be a little bit cautious. This one is breaking now underneath our 100 key psych. We do have earnings coming up on Thursday. We'd like to see the reclaim for any sort of pushback towards the upside here on INTC. With that being said, there's a couple names. There's a lot of names that are pulling back, of course, like an MBIS, keep an eye out on our 140. A 50% to a 61.8 retracement. As I mentioned, a lot of people are looking to buy MU INTC at the highs, but as it's pulling back here now, everyone is a lot more scared, right? The VIX in this case is not even above 20. So there's not that much fear in the markets. Of course, the semis have been dropping quite a bit, but as you can see here, whenever the VIX spikes, that is the time to, of course, look for positions. You don't want to try and time a bottom here on these semiconductors because these ones are a lot weaker now. You can look to dollar cost average into some names and look for eventually that mean reversion back towards the upside. Yeah, with that being said, that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you guys did enjoy that. If you did, appreciate if you guys drop a like and sub. I'll keep you guys updated next week. Make sure you join the pre-market preps because a lot of things are changing on a day-to-day basis. That being said, I'll see you guys all next week for a brand new video. Peace.